Well, alrighty guys, welcome back. So today I'm actually going to be going over what to expect the day you leave for BMT and into zero night. So I actually have a list written down on my computer of what I went through, what my experience was the day that I left for BMT. So the morning you wake up at the hotel, and my wake up was 4 o'clock. Super early in the morning. And we went downstairs, had breakfast. I actually met up with my mom and dad who stayed at the hotel that night, at the same hotel, because it is a public hotel. They just, the Air Force just reserves rooms for anybody else who's shipping, which I believe as of right now, they are allowing you to have roommates when you're at the hotel. When I went through back in April of 2021, I did not have any roommates. I actually got a room by myself. It was really nice. Some of you may or may not remember that. I did a live stream while I was there. Anyway, but I'm pretty sure they're allowing roommates back. So I met with my parents downstairs, said our goodbyes, and sat down and ate some breakfast. I had like some sausage, maybe some eggs, whatever it was. And then it was like 5 o'clock. They told everyone, get ready to go on the bus to get you to MEPS. So they lined us all up, or actually they called us into a conference room, getting all the people who were going to the MEPS station into this one big conference room. Then we were just waiting in there. Like, we didn't have anything going on. And then they finally said, all right, now we have our list and we're gonna start calling names. Actually, no, they called us by room number. I showed them my ID, and I got on the bus. Now, it was probably for me about a 15-minute drive from my hotel to the MEPS station. And then once we got to the MEPS station, they separated us into lines outside the front door. So they separated us into shippers, full inspects, and consults. So shippers, those who are obviously shipping that day. Full inspects, those who are doing the full physical, who more than likely it was their first time up to MEPS and that they're doing all their initial paperwork, processing all that. And then the ones who are just there to get consults from the liaisons. So once we were separated into our lines, we went in, had our temperature checked, and turned in our COVID screening forms that we had filled out the day prior. And then we went to the x-ray machine. Oh my God, the freaking x-ray machine. It is one of the most daunting things for me ever, because it makes you second guess what you have in your bag. Like, oh my God, did I forget to take this out? Did I forget to take that out? Even though I knew I didn't have anything in there, it's just one of the most daunting feelings ever, having your stuff run through that x-ray machine. Anyway, so once you go through the x-ray machine, for me in my line, since we were in the shippers, they told us to go to our liaison's office. So we went to our liaison's office, and they give you your medical folder. And this medical folder has everything in it that you have ever processed through MEPS or through your recruiter. Anything that you've ever processed in this one big folder. And I remember mine was green, and it was like this thick. And then they told me to go to the front desk. And once I got to the front desk, they asked me for my ID, said if I'm shipping, and I said, yes, I am. And they said, all right, go to the cafeteria. So then I went to the cafeteria. I was one of the first people in, and then other people started trickling in, and we were all shipping that day. And then a medical guy comes in, gives us a small little brief saying, hey, anyone who has a medical folder, anybody who is getting inspects done, anything like that, come to the med wing. So they sorted everyone by, okay, you're shipping, you just need a consult, you need an inspect, stuff like that. Once we got into medical, we checked into the front desk, where again, they took our temperature, took our COVID forms, and made sure that we were all, healthy. And then all the males headed to ortho for the inspect physical, which all the inspect physical is they make you get down to your underwear, and you don't have to go through all the physical stuff that you went through the first time with the underwear Olympics and all that stuff. But they do make sure that your height hasn't changed, or if it has changed, that you document it. Your weight hasn't changed, or if it has, you document it. And that basically that you're still eligible to ship to BMT. So because if you're not and something's changed, you get a rash, you get a mole. I actually had a big dog scratch going down my stomach because right before I left, my older brother's dog, I believe she's a pit bull, jumped on me and scratched me down my stomach. And so when they asked me, hey, what's this scratch from? I said, it's from the dog that I was trying to avoid getting scratched by before I left. So the doctor ended up saying, okay, you're all, it's a dog scratch, you're fine, it's healing well. So after you're done getting your med inspect done, you go back to your liaison's office. And basically all day for me, I was bouncing back and forth between medical and liaison. The liaison sends you to operations. Now, once you go to operations, that's where you actually go over your contract, go over the start of your SGLI, which is your life insurance policy. You do a short little interview so that they know that you're not crazy, and you fill out some paperwork, and then they send you back to your liaison. And then your liaison has you go over, sign, and confirm what contract you want to be signing, which you can either sign a 4-year or a 6-year. If you haven't yet seen the video, it'll be up in one of these two corners about my video that I sat down with my recruiter, and he goes over the differences between 4- and 6-year contracts and which one's more beneficial to you. So once you're done with your liaison, they send you back to the front desk. Now, once I was sent back to the front desk, they asked me if I was ready to swear in, and I said, yes, I am. So they set me down over in a little, I won't say it was roped off, but a little closed off area of chairs. We had a TV mounted up on the wall, and they were playing some sort of like ESPN something or another, but it was the only TV we had watched all day. So we were like, all right, fine, we're just gonna watch it anyway. So we were sitting there. I started chatting with some of the other guys who were shipping that day. And there were a couple other Air Force people, some Navy people, some Army people, and a decent mixture. And then after probably about 15 minutes of sitting in that little section, they take you into the briefing room. And a liaison, not a liaison, but a representative, I should say, is a better word. One of the people who work there goes over some articles of the UCMJ, abandonment, that this is an all-volunteer force, stuff like that, the stuff that you'd have to acknowledge, before you swore into the delayed entry program. They go over the same stuff. And then after you're done in there, they take you into the actual ceremony room, which is, the big room with all the flags, red carpet, the ceremony room where you actually swear in. And then you take your oath of enlistment.
Group attention. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your full name. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I'll support and defend.
That I'll support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
That I will bear.
That I will bear.
True faith.
True faith.
And allegiance.
And allegiance.
To the same.
To the same.
And that I will obey.
And that I will obey.
The orders.
The orders.
Of the President of the United States.
Of the President of the United States.
And the orders.
And the orders.
Of the officers.
Of the officers.
Appointed over me.
Appointed over me.
According to regulation.
According to regulation.
In the Uniform Code.
In the Uniform Code.
Of military justice.
Of military justice.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You may put your arms down. Give yourselves a round of applause.
I actually swore in with about 6 or 7 other guys that ended up being in my flight. So that was really, really cool. So I got to know them from the beginning. One of them was one of my closest wingmen while I was at BMT. We were next to each other, or our beds were next to each other. He was Beast Chief, and anything I needed, I knew I could go to him. Anything he needed, he knew he could come to me. After you're done swearing in and you've taken your oath of enlistment, you go back to the briefing room to sign your actual active duty contract. Now, I signed a 6-year contract, so once I graduate tech school, which is where I'm at right now, once I graduate tech school, I will be an Airman First Class, and I actually already got my assignment. Shh, a video will be coming about that later. But I will be an Airman First Class versus if you come in as a single E1 on a 4-year contract, you would have to wait an additional 6 months before you would be able to sew on Airman First Class. So now after you've signed your active duty, reserve, guard, whatever contract you signed, then you head back to your liaison. Now once you're with your liaison just confirms everything and says, all right, you're all set to go. He sends you back to the cafeteria, or at this point, he sent me back to the cafeteria so we could have lunch. Now they give you these saran wrap bag and a lunch, or lunch in a bag, plastic bag lunches, stuff like that. I think I had like a ham and cheese sandwich or something like that. And we started giving, there was one guy that I actually went through basic with who was 18 and who was married, which, you know, good for him. But we said, hey, you're a newlywed, you need all of these. And we started giving him all our oranges. It was funny. We were already picking on him. He happened to be in my flight too, so it was actually kind of funny. And we picked on him all through basic too. But it was a fun, you know, brotherly type picking on him, since he was one of the youngest people in our flight and he was already married. For us, our bus didn't come until 2 p.m. So mind you, we got there at like 5:45, 6 in the morning, right? Our bus didn't come until 2 p.m. So we were doing all this stuff and then had to sit in the cafeteria for like 2.5 hours waiting for this bus to show up. But before you get on the bus, you go back to the briefing room from the cafeteria and pick up your orders, pick up all your belongings, all your baggage, and then you go and get on the bus to head to the airport. And then once you get to the airport, it's kind of self-explanatory. They give you your tickets. So you're already checked in, or no, you have to go and check in, but you already have your tickets. And all I would suggest to bring is a duffel bag or a backpack. That way you don't have to worry about, you know, checking in any bags or anything like that and then waiting a baggage claim when you get to San Antonio Airport. It just makes it a whole lot easier. But, you know, it's the typical through the airport, you know, going to your terminal, waiting for your plane. At this point, your emotions are super, super all over the place because you are officially active duty. You are not an airman, you are now a trainee, but you are officially active duty because you signed your contract. And they actually give you like a $24 voucher or something like that you can use for food when you're at the airport, which I highly, highly, highly recommend you do, because when you get to BMT, they will give you a totem, or what most people call an MRE. But totems and MREs are two different things when they're really not. They're really one and the same. Anyway, but they give you like an MRE type dinner when you get there, and I didn't even eat it when I got there because it was borderline disgusting for me. And I didn't know how to heat up the food. I didn't know how to do any of it, so I didn't even eat it. So I was glad I ate when I was at the airport before I left, and I had like some steak sliders or something, because if you don't use the majority that's on that voucher, you don't get cash back. So that is a free $24 check that the Air Force just provided for you for food before you go to BMT. So I would highly, highly, highly suggest to find some place in the airport to use that voucher. But then once you eat, get on your plane, fly to San Antonio, they tell you to go to the USO, which is the Uniform Service Office. And it's basically where you're told to check in. However, I got there at like 2000 hours, so that's 8 p.m. and the USO was already closed. So we started going down this corridor or whatever, and then we just hear, "Trainee, get off your phone!" And we knew exactly where we were. And we knew exactly that was the Air Force, and we knew that those were the MTIs yelling. They weren't yelling at us, but we just heard them yelling at a trainee. And so we're like, oh crap. That actually wasn't the word that we had said, but it's like, oh crap. So we all turned our phones off and started walking down towards the notorious MTI yelling. And once we get down there, they say, all right, all of you that just came down here, go into that corner. And we're like, yes, sir. And they said, get into like 4 lines and don't move. Yes, sir. So we all got into like 4 rows, or 4 elements, as you'll learn them during BMTs, 4 elements. And I had already texted my parents saying, hey, just landed in San Antonio. We were told when we lined up in these 4 rows, or these 4 elements, to call our families and to tell them that we got there safe. We didn't do that when we were at BMT, but when we were in the airport. And a lot of people did, but I had already texted my parents saying that I had gotten there and that I was safe. So I turned my phone off and put it in my bag. Take a little tour back earlier when I said that they give you your orders when you're at MEPS. You hold those orders with you until you get to BMT. I still have a few sets of my orders in my binder that I never used, my original sets of orders from BMT, because you always hold those with you because they are important documents that you always want documentation of. So the MTI started asking for specific papers, your driver's license, stuff like that. and you have all those papers in your hands, and you have your bag by your right foot. They call it grounded, which is when your foot is actually touching your bag. So your foot was grounded to your bag, and we just stood there. Now my group was there until 2300, which is 11 p.m. We just stood there. We didn't do anything. Other groups kept coming in off of the planes, and they were being pushed through. But we just stood there. We were almost forgotten while we were there. And then finally an MTI came up and said, "Have you all been told what to do?" And we said, "No, sir, we were told to stand here." And he said, "All right, well, let's go. Go up here, go to this table." So we said, "Yes, sir." So we moved, went up to this table. And we went up to this table, found our name off of the list, and it had a room number or a dorm number next to it. And whatever that dorm number was, obviously that was your dorm. That is now your flight. So the dorm number is not your flight number, but the dorm number correlates with whatever flight you are in. So, and I'll get to that in a second. So I started, signing my name, filling out, highlighting. I got a sticker. I will put up a picture of my shirt with my dorm sticker still on it from zero night at BMT. I was in dorm 4 Charlie 2, along with probably about 6 or 7 other guys that I had sworn in with that day. So we were in dorm 4 Charlie 2, flight 543. Oh my God, it was freaking awesome. Anyway, so we then, after we get our stickers and they know who we are, we then go line up to get ready to get on the bus. Now the buses came around probably about every 15, 20 minutes. So we were sitting on the ground waiting for the bus to come around. And once the bus came around, we went out, and I think it was 21 people total that were allowed on the bus. You do have to wear a mask unless you are fully vaccinated. That was the rule as of when I went through in late April and when I got out in mid-June 2021. So you did have to wear a mask at that point because nobody was vaccinated. And we drove to Lackland. Now that is where I'm going to stop this video, and I will continue this video picking up where I left off. I will continue this video in my next video, my 0 night experience. So I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to smack that like button, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video.